The first alarm sounded at 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Admiral Paul Carter was pulled from deep sleep by the harsh buzz of his emergency communicator. He fumbled for it in the darkness of his quarters aboard the USS Defiant. "This better be important," he muttered. "Sir," said the voice of his first officer, "long-range sensors have detected multiple objects entering the solar system near Neptune. They're moving fast, sir. Faster than anything we've ever recorded." Paul sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "Natural objects?" "No, sir. Regular formation. Definitely vessels. Hundreds of them. I'll be on the bridge in 5 minutes. Alert. All fleet commanders, this is not a drill." As Paul dressed quickly in his uniform, he felt a cold weight in his stomach. Humanity had been reaching out to the stars for decades, sending signals and probes. Many scientists argued against it, warning that not everything out there might be friendly. Now it seemed those warnings might have been right. On the bridge, Major Kate Wells was already analyzing the sensor data. She was the best tactical officer in the Earth Defense Force, with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Admiral on deck," someone announced. "At ease," Paul said. "Major Wells, what are we looking at?" Kate pointed to the main screen. "The objects are maintaining perfect formation despite traveling at speeds that should make that impossible. Our technology is far beyond ours, sir. Have they responded to our hails?" "No, sir. And they're accelerating. At current speed, they'll reach Jupiter's orbit in 9 hours. Paul frowned. Jupiter was where Earth had established its first line of defense, a network of bases and weapon platforms on the gas giant's moons. "Alert all Jupiter outposts. All civilian ships are to evacuate immediately. And get me a direct line to the World Security Council." In an underground laboratory on Earth, Dr. Greg Mason stared at his computer screen. The notification about the approaching alien fleet had just reached him. He ran a hand through his graying hair and turned to his assistant. "How close are we with Lazarus?" "Still in testing phase," his assistant replied. "The interface works, but the human mind can't handle the transition. The test subjects all suffered complete psychological breakdown." Greg cursed under his breath. "We just ran out of time. Call the team in. We need to solve this now." On the moon Europa, scientists Alan Reeves and Lisa Morgan were analyzing data from deep space probes when the evacuation order came through. "This can't be happening," Lisa said, her voice shaking as she hurriedly packed equipment. She was young for her position, only 32, but was considered one of Earth's brightest minds in alien technology theory. Alan, older with a calm demeanor that helped in crises, was downloading as much data as possible. "Take the crystalline samples. We might need them." "For what? If those ships are hostile, then we need every advantage," Alan finished. "The crystalline computing theory you developed might be our only way to understand their technology." 8 hours later, the alien fleet reached Jupiter's orbit. The Earth Defense Force was waiting. Ships formed in battle positions around the moon bases. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, watching the tactical display. "All ships, maintain position. Weapons hot, but hold fire until my command." The alien vessels slowed as they approached. They were sleek, with blue-green surfaces that seemed to shimmer like water despite the vacuum of space. "Sir," Kate said, "they're scanning us." Before Paul could respond, the communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission." The main screen flickered, and an image appeared. The being on screen was humanoid, but clearly alien, tall and thin with skin that had the same shimmering quality as their ships. Its eyes were large, entirely black, and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice oddly musical. "We are the Krell. Your signals have reached our territory. We have come to offer you integration into our collective." Paul stepped forward. "This is Admiral Paul Carter of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact, but your armed approach to our solar system is concerning." The alien's expression didn't change. "Integration is not optional. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance will only result in your eradication rather than preservation." The screen went dark. Sir, they're powering weapons, Kate shouted. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Paul ordered. Defense platforms, open fire. The space around Jupiter's moons lit up with weapons fire. Earth's ships launched everything they had: missiles, energy beams, and railgun projectiles. Some hit their targets, causing small explosions on the alien ships, but most were intercepted by invisible barriers surrounding the Krell vessels. The Krell returned fire. Beams of blue-green energy cut through space, slicing through Earth ships, like they were made of paper. Defense platforms exploded one after another. Our weapons barely affect them, Kate reported, her fingers flying over her console. But there's a pattern to their attack formation. They're not just superior. They're connected somehow, moving as one organism. The USS Defiant shook violently as it took a hit to its rear shields. Shields at 40%, an officer reported. Fall. Back to Mars defense line, Paul ordered. All remaining ships covering retreat, get the civilians out first. As the Earth forces began their retreat, Paul received a direct call from Earth. The stern face of President Sofia Rivera appeared on his screen. Admiral, what's the situation? Madam President, we're outmatched. Their technology is far beyond ours. We've lost almost 40% of the fleet in the first engagement. The President's expression grew grave. I've just authorized the activation of Project Lazarus. Paul's eyes widened. Ma'am, that project is experimental. The ethical considerations alone. Ethics won't matter if we're extinct, Admiral, she cut him off. Dr. Mason believes it's our only chance. Hold them off as long as you can. As the USS Defiant led the retreat to Mars, Kate Wells noticed something on her screen. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns in the Krell ships. It's like their weapons and shields operate on some kind of crystalline computing network. If we could disrupt that, work with Science Division. Find me a weakness, Paul ordered. In the Omega Station laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Greg Mason received the President's authorization code. He looked at the row of gleaming metal pods along the wall, each designed to hold a human body. Begin final preparations, he told his team. Project Lazarus is now active. As Earth's first line of defense crumbled around Jupiter, humanity's final option was being prepared in secret. The war had just begun, and already defeat seemed certain. But sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one the enemy doesn't see coming. The red dust of Mars swirled outside the windows of the command center. Admiral Paul Carter looked at the tactical display showing the remains of Earth's fleet. They had lost almost half their ships during the retreat from Jupiter. Now they were regrouping around Mars, preparing for the next Krell attack. They'll be here in 6 hours, Major Kate Wells said, pointing to the approaching dots on the screen. She hadn't slept in 2 days, but her mind remained sharp. I've been studying their attack patterns. The Krell ships move in perfect sync like they share one mind. Paul nodded. Can we use that against them? Maybe. Kate pulled up a simulation. If we target specific ships in their formation, it creates a temporary disruption in their coordination. It's not much, but it might give us an edge. Implement it, Paul ordered. We need every advantage we can get. On Earth, the World Security Council gathered in an emergency session. 12 leaders from the world's regions sat around a circular table, their faces grim as they watched footage from the Jupiter battle. President Sofia Rivera stood to address them. The Krell will reach Mars soon, and Earth shortly after. Our conventional weapons are ineffective. It's time to consider our final option. She nodded to a man waiting by the door. Dr. Greg Mason walked in carrying a secure tablet. Project Lazarus, he began, represents a technological breakthrough that could change everything. He tapped his tablet, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table, showing a sleek humanoid form made of a silvery material. This is not just a robot or a drone, Greg explained. It's a vessel designed to carry human consciousness. We can transfer a person's entire mind into this synthetic body, the council members murmured in shock. That's impossible, one said. It's not only possible, it's been done, Greg replied. Though not without complications. The human mind struggles to adapt to the synthetic platform. All our test subjects experience severe psychological breakdown. Then how is this our final option? Another council member asked. Because these synthetic bodies have capabilities far beyond human limits. They can operate in space without protection. They're stronger, faster, and can interface directly with technology, including potentially Krell technology. President Rivera spoke up. Dr. Mason believes the crystalline computing structure found in Krell ships could be vulnerable to these synthetic bodies. It's still experimental, a council member protested. And the ethical considerations, ethics won't save us from extinction, Rivera cut in. I've authorized the project to proceed. At Omega Station, Lisa Morgan and Alan Reeves had been brought in to work with Greg's team. Lisa studied the crystalline samples they'd brought from Europa under a microscope. These artificial crystals have quantum properties similar to what we've detected in Krell ships, she explained to Alan. If we can create a specific quantum resonance pattern, we could disrupt their entire network, Alan finished, excitement in his voice. But how do we deliver it? We can't get close enough to their ships. Greg joined them. That's where Project Lazarus comes in. At the Mars defense line, the battle began. Earth ships moved according to Kate's strategy, targeting specific points in the Krell formation. It worked briefly. The alien ships showed moments of confusion, their perfect coordination faltering. It's working, Kate said, watching the tactical display. For an hour, the Earth fleet held its own, but the Krell adapted quickly. Their ships reformed into a new pattern, and their attacks intensified. They're learning, Paul said grimly as another Earth ship exploded. Fall back to secondary positions. The USS Defiant shook violently as it took a direct hit. Hull breach on decks 5 through 7, someone shouted. Seal those sections, Paul ordered. Maintain position. Another hit rocked the ship, more violent than the first. Kate was thrown from her station as a support beam collapsed, crushing her lower body. Pain exploded through her as darkness crept into the edges of her vision. Through the chaos, she heard Paul calling for emergency medical evacuation before everything went black. Kate woke briefly during transport to Earth. Through a haze of pain and medication, she heard doctors talking. Spinal cord severed. Internal bleeding. Won't survive conventional surgery. There's another option, a new voice said. She's on the Lazarus candidate list. Kate slipped back into darkness. In Omega Station, Greg received word of the Mars defense failure. The Earth fleet was in retreat and the Krell would reach Earth orbit within days. He looked at the row of synthetic bodies waiting in their chambers. We're out of time, he told his team. Prepare for the first full transfer. Alan and Lisa had been working non-stop on the quantum virus that could disrupt Krell systems. We're close, Lisa said, her eyes red from exhaustion. But we still need a delivery method. The Lazarus subjects will deliver it, Greg said. They'll board the Krell ships. That's suicide, Alan protested. Not for these bodies. And our first volunteers are already here. Greg led them to the medical wing where several critically injured soldiers had been brought from the Mars battle. Among them was Major Kate Wells, unconscious and connected to life support machines. She's perfect, Greg said quietly. Military training, tactical genius, and according to her psych profile, an exceptional ability to adapt to extreme situations. Does she get a choice? Lisa asked. Before Greg could answer, Kate's eyes fluttered open. Despite the pain medication, her gaze was clear and focused. I heard you, she whispered. Project Lazarus. You want to put my mind in one of those synthetic bodies. Greg stepped closer. Yes, it's experimental, dangerous, and might not work. But if it does, you could help save Earth. And if I refuse? Greg gestured to the medical monitors. Your injuries are fatal, Major. I'm sorry. Kate was silent for a long moment. Then, if I do this, and it works, will I still be me? Your consciousness, memories, personality, all transferred, but how it feels to exist in a synthetic body, that's unknown territory. Kate looked at the ceiling, then back at Greg. When my ship was hit, I watched good people die. If there's any chance I can stop that from happening to everyone on Earth? She took a shaky breath. I volunteer. In the transfer chamber, Kate's broken body lay in a pod connected to a synthetic form by countless wires and tubes. Greg monitored, the process on screen showing brainwave patterns and data transfer rates. Beginning consciousness transfer, he announced. Kate felt a strange pulling sensation, as if her very self was being stretched thin. There was pain, then nothing. Then she opened eyes that weren't eyes anymore. Everything looked different, sharper, with data flowing across her vision. She tried to move and felt a body respond, a body that felt both alien and somehow right. Major Wells? Greg's voice seemed to come from far away. Can you hear me? Kate turned her head to look at him. The movement was smooth, effortless, despite her never having used this body before. I hear you, she said, her voice slightly synthetic but still recognizable as her own. I feel different. You're the first successful transfer, Greg said, relief evident in his voice. Welcome to Project Lazarus. Kate sat up and looked at her new hands, sleek, silvery appendages that moved with perfect precision. How long? Until the Krell reach Earth, she asked. 2 days. Kate swung her legs off the table and stood in a single fluid motion. Then we have work to do. Kate stood in the training chamber of Omega Station, examining her new body with a mixture of wonder and unease. Her synthetic form was humanoid but clearly not human, sleek, silvery, and slightly taller than her original body. When she moved, she felt no pain, no fatigue, only smooth precision. Try the combat sequence again, Greg instructed from behind a reinforced glass wall. Kate nodded and faced the training drones. As they activated and rushed toward her, she moved. Her new body responded instantly to her thoughts, faster than any human reflexes. She dodged the first drone, caught the second in midair, and threw it into the third with enough force to shatter both. Impressive, Greg said as the training session ended. Your adaptation rate is off the charts. It doesn't feel real, Kate replied, looking at her hands. Like I'm playing a video game with perfect controls. That disconnect might be why you're succeeding where others failed, Lisa Morgan said, entering the room with Alan Reeves. The previous subjects couldn't handle the transition because they fought against it. Kate walked to a metal table and picked it up with one hand, lifting the heavy object as if it weighed nothing. How many others have survived the transfer? 2, so far, Greg answered. Sergeant John Murphy and Lieutenant Olivia Rodriguez. Both were critically wounded in the Mars battle like you. In another training room, Kate met her fellow Lazarus subjects. John was a muscular synthetic with a determined set to his shoulders. Olivia was slightly smaller, her movements quick and precise. Major Wells. John greeted her with a nod. Nice to see a familiar face, sort of. How are you both adjusting? Kate asked. It's strange, Olivia replied. Her voice had the same slight synthetic quality as Kate's. I keep expecting to feel tired or hungry, but there's nothing. Are we even human anymore? John asked quietly. Before Kate could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Greg's voice came over the speakers. All personnel to emergency stations. The Krell fleet has broken through our outer system defenses. They'll reach Earth orbit in 12 hours. On the rear. Main level of Omega Station, Kate, John, and Olivia joined Greg, Lisa, and Alan for a briefing. President Rivera was present via secure video link, her face drawn with worry. The remaining Earth fleet is moving into defensive positions, the president reported. But after the Mars defeat, we don't expect them to hold for long. Dr. Mason, is Lazarus ready? Greg looked at the 3 synthetic soldiers. Ready as they'll ever be, Madam President. Alan pulled up a holographic model of a Krell ship. Based on our analysis, the Krell vessels are controlled by a central crystalline computing core located here. He pointed to the center of the ship model. The entire fleet appears to operate as one networked system. Lisa continued. We've developed a quantum resonance virus that should disrupt their network, but it needs to be delivered directly to the core of their command ship. That's where we come in, Kate said, understanding dawning. Greg nodded. Your synthetic bodies can survive in space, withstand radiation, and, most importantly, interface directly with the Krell systems. You want us to board the command ship, John stated. Yes. We've developed special transport pods that can approach undetected and attach to their hull. Once inside, you'll navigate to the core and upload the virus. What makes you think we can interface with their technology? Olivia asked. Greg looked at Lisa, who explained, the crystalline computing that powers your synthetic bodies was developed based on fragments we recovered from Krell scout drones years ago. You're partially built with their own technology, modified, and repurposed. So we're part Krell, Kate said, looking down at her body with new understanding. In a manner of speaking, Greg confirmed, which is why you should be able to connect to their systems. As the team prepared for the mission, Kate found herself standing before a reflective panel studying her synthetic face. It resembled her human one in basic structure but was smoother, with glowing blue eyes. Having second thoughts? John asked, joining her. I'm wondering if this is what humanity was always heading toward, Kate replied. Maybe this is evolution. John shook his head. This isn't evolution. It's desperation. Either way, it's our only chance. 8 hours later, as the Krell fleet entered Earth orbit and began bombing orbital defense platforms, 3 sleek pods launched from a hidden facility in the Rocky Mountains. Each contained a single Lazarus subject. Kate felt no fear as her pod accelerated toward space, another strange reminder of her changed existence. Through the small viewport, she watched Earth growing smaller below, its night side glittering with city lights, its day side partly covered by swirling clouds. Worth saving no matter the cost. Team check, she said into her communication system. Murphy ready? Came John's response. Rodriguez ready, Olivia confirmed. Remember the plan, Kate said. We attached to different points on the command ship. To increase our chances of reaching the core, stay in communication as long as possible. What if the virus doesn't work? John asked. Then we find another way, Kate replied. Failure isn't an option. The Krell command ship came into view, massive, at least 3 miles long, with the same blue-green shimmering surface they had seen in the first contact. Kate's pod automatically adjusted course, heading for a section near what they believed was an access point. Approaching target, she reported. Sensors show minimal defense activity in my sector. Same here, John said. They probably don't expect anything as small as our pods, Olivia noted. Their defenses are focused on Earth's fleet. Kate's pod slowed as it neared the hull of the Krell ship. With a soft thud and a hiss of magnetic locks, it attached. I'm on, she reported, preparing to breach. Kate activated her pod's cutting tool, a focused energy beam that began slicing through the alien hull. The material was tough, but yielded after a minute of sustained cutting. When the circle was complete, Kate pushed the section inward and pulled herself into the Krell ship. The interior was strange. Corridors lit with a pulsing blue-green light, walls that seemed partly organic, flowing in curves rather than sharp angles. The atmosphere was thin, toxic to humans, but her synthetic body had no need to breathe. I'm inside, Kate reported. The ship's interior is navigable in our bodies. Air is thin. Humans wouldn't survive without suits. Confirmed, came Olivia's voice. I'm in too. Murphy here. In and moving toward the central section. Kate consulted the ship schematic projected in her field of vision. Based on their best guess of the ship's layout, she needed to move inward, toward the core. She began moving swiftly through the corridors, encountering no resistance at first. Then she turned a corner and came face to face with a Krell. The alien was taller than her synthetic body, with the same shimmering skin as their ships. Its large black eyes fixed on her, and for a moment neither moved. Then the Krell raised a hand-like appendage and energy began to gather at its fingertips. Kate moved first, faster than any human could. She lunged forward, grabbing the Krell's arm and forcing it upward. The energy blast hit the ceiling. With her other hand, she struck the alien's midsection. It fell back but made no sound. I've encountered one of them, she reported as she continued down the corridor, leaving the stunned alien behind. They can generate energy weapons from their bodies. Stay alert. As she moved deeper into the ship, Kate felt a strange sensation, a pulling at the edges of her consciousness. The closer she got to the core, the stronger it became, Something about this ship was calling to her synthetic mind. "Does anyone else feel that?" she asked. "Some kind of signal?" "Yes," Olivia replied, her voice tense. "It's trying to get into my head. The Krell must be attempting to access our systems," John said. "Keep moving." Kate pushed forward, fighting the increasing pressure in her mind. The ship's corridors began to pulse more intensely around her, as if the vessel itself was aware of their presence. "I think I can see the core chamber," she reported as she reached a large doorway. "It's—" A blast of energy hit her from behind, sending her sprawling forward. Kate rolled and turned to see 3 Krell advancing on her, their hands glowing with gathered energy. As they prepared to fire again, Kate knew she was out of time. The mission had only just begun, and already their final option was being put to the ultimate test. Kate rolled to the side as energy blasts from the 3 Krell struck the spot where she had been standing. Her synthetic body moved with incredible speed, allowing her to dodge attacks that would have instantly killed a human. She leaped forward, closing the distance to the nearest Krell. Up close, their shimmering skin looked like flowing water over crystal. Kate struck with precision, targeting what she hoped was a vulnerable point. The Krell staggered back, its black eyes widening in what might have been surprise. "Murphy Rodriguez, I'm engaged with 3 Krell near the core entrance," Kate said through their communication link. "What's your status?" "Moving toward your position," John replied, his voice distorted by static. "Encountering resistance." "Same," Olivia added. "These ships are more heavily guarded than we thought." Kate ducked another energy blast and grabbed the arm of the second Krell. With her enhanced strength, she twisted it away and used the alien's own momentum to throw it into the third. Both crashed into the corridor wall. "The core entrance is just ahead," she reported. "I'm going in." She raced through the large doorway before the Krell could recover. Inside was a vast chamber that took Kate's breath away, or would have if she still needed to breathe. The core rose from floor to ceiling, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with blue-green light. Energy flowed through it in visible currents, and the strange signal she had felt before was much stronger here. "I've reached the core," she reported. "It's beautiful." Kate approached the crystal structure carefully. According to their plan, she needed to find an access point where she could interface with the system and upload the virus. As she moved closer, the signal intensified, becoming almost a voice in her mind. Not words, but patterns that seemed almost familiar. She reached out toward the core, her synthetic hand glowing slightly as it neared the crystal. When she touched, the connection was immediate and overwhelming. Data flooded into her mind, too much to process at once. Kate pulled back, shaken. "The interface works, but it's intense. I need to modify my approach." Outside the core chamber, John and Olivia fought their way through increasing numbers of Krell. "They know we're here," John said, his voice urgent. "The whole ship is alerting." "Keep them off me," Kate replied. "I need time to upload the virus." She reached out to the core again, this time prepared for the data surge. Kate let it flow through her, using her tactical training to sort and filter the information. Gradually, she began to make sense of the Krell system architecture. "Dr. Mason, can you hear me?" She called back to Earth. Greg's voice came through, distorted but audible. "We hear you, Major. Have you accessed the core?" "Yes. Sending you what I'm seeing now." Back in Omega Station, Greg, Lisa, and Alan watched as Krell data patterns appeared on their screens. "It's working," Lisa said excitedly. "The interface is stable." "The system architecture is similar to our models," Alan added, "but more complex." "Kate, look for a central node structure. It should appear as a more concentrated energy pattern." In the core chamber, Kate moved around the crystal structure, searching. "I see it. Upper quadrant where the energy flows converge." "That's your upload point," Greg confirmed. "Initiating virus transfer now." Kate felt the quantum virus flow from her systems into her hand, ready to be transferred to the Krell core. She reached up toward the energy convergence point. At that moment, the chamber doors burst open. A group of Krell entered, led by one larger than the others. This one wore what looked like ceremonial markings on its shimmering skin. "Major, hurry," Greg urged. Kate stretched toward the upload point, but before she could reach it, an energy blast hit her squarely in the back. She fell forward, systems temporarily disrupted. The leader Krell approached, studying her with its large black eyes. To Kate's surprise, it spoke, not aloud but directly into her mind through the same signal she had felt before. "You are not like the others," it communicated. "You are between flesh and crystal. How is this possible?" Kate struggled to her feet, her systems recovering. "We adapted your technology," she replied, uncertain if the Krell could understand her spoken words. It tilted its head, seeming to listen not to her voice but to her synthetic systems. "You have taken our essence without permission. This is why you must be integrated or destroyed." Outside the chamber, the sounds of battle intensified. Kate heard Olivia cry out in pain. "Major, they've breached our position," John shouted over the comm. "Rodriguez is down." Kate faced the Krell leader. "Why are you attacking us? We sent peaceful messages into space. Your messages revealed your location. Your technology showed potential. The collective requires new patterns to continue." "The collective?" "All Krell are one. All integrated species become part of the whole. This is the natural order." Kate realized with horror what integration truly meant. Not peaceful coexistence, but absorption of Earth's knowledge and technology while destroying human individuality. The chamber doors opened again. John burst in, his synthetic body showing damage from multiple energy weapons. Behind him, Kate caught a glimpse of Olivia's form lying motionless in the corridor. "Major, now or never," John shouted, engaging the nearest Krell. Kate made her decision. She lunged for the upload point, dodging energy blasts from the other Krell. The leader moved to intercept her faster than she expected. It grabbed her arm, and immediately Kate felt a strange probing sensation as it attempted to access her systems directly. "John, cover me," she called. Sergeant Murphy launched himself at the leader, breaking its grip on Kate. "Upload the virus," he shouted as he grappled with the alien. Kate reached the upload point and pressed her hand against it. "Initiating upload." The virus began flowing into the Krell core, causing the crystal to pulse erratically. The leader sensed the change immediately and abandoned its fight with John, rushing toward Kate. "You cannot disrupt the collective," it projected into her mind, its mental voice now filled with alarm. John intercepted it, grabbing the alien from behind. "Finish it, Major." The leader Krell generated a massive energy surge, engulfing both itself and John. Kate watched in horror as her fellow soldier's synthetic body began to melt under the intense energy. "Complete the mission," John said, his voice breaking up as his systems failed. For Earth. His body collapsed, but he had bought Kate the time she needed. The virus upload reached 100%, and the core crystal began to pulse with an irregular, sickly light. The effect was immediate. All around her, the Krell staggered, clutching their heads as if in pain. The leader fell to its knees, its mental voice, now a chaotic jumble in Kate's mind. "What have you done?" it projected. The collective, fragmenting. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Admiral Paul Carter watched in amazement as the Krell fleet suddenly ceased firing. The alien ships began drifting out of formation, some colliding with others. "Sir," an officer reported, "the Krell communications have gone silent. Their ships are powering down." Paul allowed himself a moment of hope. "Lazarus team, report. What's happening in there?" In the core chamber, Kate stood amid the disoriented Krell. The virus had worked better than expected, disrupting not just their ships, but the aliens themselves. Through her connection to the core, she sensed the chaos spreading throughout the fleet. But something else was happening too. As the virus disrupted the Krell collective consciousness, fragments of their thoughts, memories, and knowledge flowed into Kate's synthetic mind. She saw glimpses of their history, a dying homeworld, centuries of integrating other species, the desperate need to expand and survive. "I understand now," she whispered, overwhelmed by the flood of alien knowledge. "They're not evil. They're survivors, doing the only thing they know." The Krell leader looked up at her, its mental voice now clear again in her mind. But different, individual rather than collective. "What have you done to us?" it asked. And this time Kate sensed fear and confusion rather than hostility. Kate stood in the heart of the enemy ship, surrounded by fallen allies and defeated aliens, as the virus continued to spread through the Krell fleet. Earth had deployed its final option, and against all odds it was working. But victory, Kate realized as alien knowledge continued flowing into her mind, might be more complicated than anyone had imagined. Kate stood in the core chamber of the Krell command ship, surrounded by disoriented aliens. Through her connection to the crystal core, she felt the virus spreading throughout the fleet, disrupting the collective consciousness that had bound the Krell together for thousands of years. For the first time in their history, each Krell was experiencing true individuality. "What is happening to me?" the leader asked, its mental voice in Kate's mind, now distinct and personal rather than part of a collective. "I feel alone." Kate approached it carefully. "You're experiencing individual consciousness. This is how humans exist all the time." The leader struggled to stand, its movements uncoordinated without the collective guiding it. "It is frightening." "Kate? Are you there?" Greg's voice came through the communication link. "Earth sensors show the Krell fleet is disabled. What's your status?" Kate looked at the fallen body of John Murphy, then toward the corridor where Olivia Rodriguez lay. "Murphy is gone. Rodriguez is down. I'm the only one left. The virus worked, but something else is happening." She turned back to the Krell leader. "Your people have destroyed countless civilizations. Why?" Images flowed into Kate's mind. A dying star, a planet's resources depleted, a species facing extinction. Then the discovery that they could preserve themselves by absorbing other consciousnesses into their collective, saving the knowledge and patterns of those civilizations even as they destroyed their individual existence. "You believe you're preserving these species," Kate said with sudden understanding. "Not destroying them. They continue within us," the leader confirmed. "All patterns, all knowledge, preserved for eternity in the collective." On Earth, emergency meetings were underway. The Krell fleet hung motionless in orbit, their weapons, systems offline. Military leaders pushed for an immediate counterattack. "This is our chance to destroy them completely," a general argued in the World Security Council chamber. President Rivera turned to Greg. "What's happening up there? Why isn't Major Wells extracting?" Greg shook his head, studying the data streaming from Kate's connection. "She's communicating with them, and she's receiving data, massive amounts of it." In the core chamber, Kate stood with her hand still connected to the crystal. Through this link, she was accessing the entirety of Krell knowledge, the combined wisdom and experience of thousands of civilizations consumed over millennia. "There's another way," she told the leader. "Coexistence instead of consumption, partnership instead of integration." The leader's large eyes studied her. "Impossible. Individual species are inefficient, wasteful. They war among themselves. They die." "Yes, we're imperfect," Kate admitted. "But our individuality gives us strength too, creativity, innovation, things your collective has lost." She removed her hand from the core and approached the leader. "Look at what we've created." She gestured to her synthetic body. "We took fragments of your technology and made something new, a bridge between organic and synthetic existence." The leader reached out hesitantly, touching Kate's synthetic arm. A connection formed between them, different from before. Not an attempt at control, but an exchange. "I see," it said after a moment. "Your Lazarus protocol. It preserves individual consciousness while transcending biological limitations." "Yes, and it could be adapted for your people too." On the USS Defiant, Admiral Paul Carter watched with the rest of Earth's defenders as the Krell ships began to power up again. Weapon systems charged, and fear spread through the fleet. "They're coming back online," an officer shouted. "Sir, they're targeting." Everyone braced for the renewed attack, but it never came. Instead, a communication signal reached them. "This is Major Kate Wells," came a slightly synthetic voice. "The Krell fleet is no longer hostile. I've negotiated a ceasefire." Paul could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Major, explain your situation." The virus didn't just disable their ships, it broke their collective consciousness. They're individuals, now, and they're lost. They don't know how to exist this way. "And why would we help them?" Paul asked. "They tried to destroy us. Because they have the combined knowledge of thousands of civilizations that could help humanity. And because we have something they need, a way to exist as individuals while keeping their advanced capabilities." In the core chamber, Kate stood, with the Krell leader and several others who had regained their composure. Through their new connection, she helped them understand the concept of individual consciousness, while they shared glimpses of their vast knowledge with her. "Your people will fear us," the leader said. "They will want revenge." "Some will," Kate agreed. "But humans are capable of forgiveness and adaptation. We've just proven that with Project Lazarus." Greg's voice came through her communication link again. "Kate, the president wants to know exactly what you're proposing." Kate took a moment to organize her thoughts. "The Lazarus protocol can be modified to help the Krell transition from collective to individual existence. In exchange, they share their technology and knowledge, not through forced integration but through cooperation." "And you trust them?" President Rivera asked, her voice now patched through. "I've seen inside their minds," Kate replied. "They're not evil. They're survivors who didn't know another way. Now they do." 2 weeks later, Kate stood in a specially constructed chamber at Omega Station. Her synthetic body had been modified, incorporating new elements based on Krell technology. Beside her stood the Krell leader, now known by the individual name Varen, chosen after it learned the human concept of personal identity. Representatives from Earth's governments watched from behind safety barriers as Kate and Varen prepared to demonstrate their breakthrough. "The bridge is ready," Kate announced. "With this technology, we can share knowledge directly, mind to mind, without losing our individual selves." Varen stepped forward. Its appearance had changed, less alien now, adapted to be less frightening. To humans. "My people have agreed to withdraw to the outer solar system while we complete our transition to individual existence. Those who wish to remain collective may do so, but not through force." President Rivera approached the barrier. "And what guarantee do we have that this isn't some trick, that you won't attempt to integrate us again once you've recovered?" Varen looked at Kate, then back at the president. "Because we have learned something from humans that we never understood before. The strength of choice. In our collective, there was only the will of the whole. As individuals, we each must choose our path. It won't be easy," Kate added. "There will be fear and mistrust on both sides. But consider the alternative. Endless war against an enemy that has the combined knowledge of thousands of civilizations. Or a partnership that could help both our species achieve things we never imagined." Greg joined them, carrying a datapad. "The first modified Lazarus transfers for willing Krell are ready, and the knowledge we've already gained from them has advanced our medical technology by decades. Treatments for diseases we thought were incurable are now within reach." As the demonstration proceeded, Kate felt a strange sense of peace. She looked down at her synthetic hand, no longer seeing it as alien but as a symbol of transformation. Humanity's final option hadn't been a weapon after all, but a doorway to something new. Outside the station, Earth continued turning, its cities rebuilding from the brief but devastating attack. In orbit, human and Krell ships now worked side by side, a tenuous alliance born from near extinction. Kate knew the road ahead would be difficult. Some humans would never trust the Krell. Some Krell would reject individuality and seek to restore the collective. But for the first time since the alien fleet appeared, the future held hope instead of certain defeat. "Are you ready?" Varen asked as they prepared to demonstrate the knowledge-sharing bridge. Kate nodded. "For whatever comes next." As their minds connected, Sharing thoughts without consuming one another, Kate realized that humanity's greatest strength had never been its weapons or technology. It had been the ability to adapt, to forgive, and to imagine possibilities where others saw only endings. Defeat had indeed been certain, until Earth deployed its final option. Not a weapon of destruction, but the capacity to turn enemies into allies and to forge a new path among the stars.